Welcome to the SCR Home Financing Podcast, where we believe a legacy is something you build, not just something you leave behind. And now, here's your host, Jeff Chisum.
Hey, this is Jeff Chisum with STR Home Financing. Welcome to episode 51, and I get to do one of my favorite things, educate. So a lot of my opportunity the past few years in this space doing financing for short-term rental/vacation homes is dispelling false information, misunderstood information, old outdated information. Yeah, I'm excited to bring that to you today. So want to thank Mike Riley with STR Secrets. Check him out. Great platform for coaching. They are doing great things in the space and have been doing it for a while. Just good people doing good things. Let me rephrase that. Great people doing great things. I'm not going to name the company that this email came from, but it is an example of a couple of different things. One is just false information. Second thing is information that is bent towards you thinking that you should go a certain direction with lending because they have an affiliate partner. So you start getting bought, you start doing things that you probably shouldn't do, or you influence people to do something or go in a direction that is not necessarily the best fit for them or the best route to go because you are compensated for going the direction they want you to go. There's that. I'm going to leave that alone. You just always want to look out for it. But we're going to walk through this email that they sent out to their database. And it's basically a second home loan versus DSCR loan comparison. Which is best for you? So it says, while second home loans offer some serious perks like only requiring 10% down, it has a serious drawback. Serious. I love strong language. That's strong language. That you can only rent the property out for 180 days a year. Many short-term rental operators find this requirement hamstrings their operations. Here's a quick summary of how second home loans compare to DSCR. Down payment. Second home loans only require 10% down. A serious perk for investors. Absolutely, and that is correct. Yeah, kudos to them for presenting correct information. Next point under down payment, our lending partners offer DSCR loan options that only require 15% down, making it an excellent option for individuals trying to limit their down payment. What they don't mention is there's a cost that comes along with that at a higher interest rate and terms that aren't necessarily favorable to the investor. So they failed to mention that. Personal use requirement is the next heading. Second home loans require you rent your property for a maximum of 180 days per year. If you're planning to operate it as a full-time short-term rental, it'll be hard to make these numbers pencil out. Everybody's interested in how does the deal pencil out, using language there that will connect with investors. DSCR loans have no occupancy restrictions, meaning you can maximize your revenue potential. So this is where I'm going to flip over to the actual Fannie Mae policy, which is the king of how everyone operates under. So you could have a second home occupancy loan that's sold to Fannie. You could have a bank portfolio loan that's 10% down second home occupancy. That's typically going to follow the Fannie Mae guidelines. Could be the Federal Home Loan Bank. They follow the Fannie Mae guidelines. So this is from the Fannie Mae second home occupancy policy. Must be occupied by the borrower from some portion of the year. So didn't hear 180 days in there, no restriction there around how much you can rent it out. It's restricted to one unit dwelling, must be suitable for year-round occupancy. So that means it can't be in an area where the mountain gets snowed in and you can't access the road, something to that effect. Must not be a rental property or a timeshare arrangement. So yeah, can't throw the property into a timeshare and cannot be subject to any agreements that give a management firm control over the occupancy of the property. So that's another one that I get into from time to time. You can't have a property manager. I hear that. You just can't have a property manager that says that you have to make the property available X amount of days per year. Back to more policy. So you sign a rider, a second home rider at closing that addresses the occupancy. And if you want to link to this, feel free to go to my website, strhomefinancing.com. We've got a chat button there. Just send me a note. I'll get this over to you. But it says borrower must occupy and use the property as borrower's second home. Borrower will maintain exclusive control over the occupancy of the property, including short-term rentals. It will not subject the property to any time sharing, as we mentioned earlier, or other shared ownership arrangement, or to any rental pool or agreements that requires borrower either to rent the property or give a management firm or any other person or entity any control over the occupancy or the use of the property. Borrower will keep the property available primarily as a residence for borrower's personal use and enjoyment for at least 1 year after the date of the security instrument, unless lender otherwise agrees in writing, which consent will not be unreasonably withheld, or unless extenuating circumstances exist that are beyond the borrower's control. Did you hear 180 days in there? Did you hear a percentage of the year? They use primarily as a residence for borrower's personal use. But ultimately, the bottom line in this policy is that you cannot lose the ability to occupy the property when you wanted to. And then it goes on to say that if there was a situation where you could no longer keep it as a second home, then you potentially could rent it out on a long-term basis. You just cannot go into the deal with that as the intention. So there better be some extenuating circumstances there. But the point is, there was never 180 days mentioned. There was never a percentage of the year mentioned. We'll jump back over to this marketing email that was sent out. DSCR loans have no occupancy restrictions. That is false. So a DSCR loan is for an investment property. You're going to sign an affidavit at closing saying that you understand that this property is not for personal use, that the approval was based on this property being available year round. You're buying a property in a destination area, a place that you like to go, and you're going to use that DSCR loan. And they're saying here that there are no occupancy restrictions. You don't want to be surprised by that document at closing. There are occupancy restrictions. Property type: second home loans must be for a single family property only, making it impossible to invest in a multi-unit property if that is in your investing plans. Yeah, that's true. It really needs to be a single family home or a townhome. Now, you buy a single family home with an ADU, an accessory dwelling unit, that's still considered a 1-unit single family residence. So if you're looking for something with 2 different structures, maybe you have the opportunity to rent it out on separate bookings. That's a possibility. But they go on to say DSCR loans have no property type restrictions, giving you the freedom and flexibility to invest in the type of property that can maximize your return. So the only one thing that I would say there is DSCR loans, you can typically do non-warrantable condos, but it does have restrictions in that it typically only goes up to 4 units. You talk to a residential lender, they're typically going to have a DSCR product that will go up to 4 units. Property location: second home loans must be used for a property that is within a reasonable distance from the investor's primary address, given it's intended to be for a legitimate vacation home. This limits the market you can invest in. Strong language again. Limits. Who wants to be limited? So they use the term vacation home. So I have physicians that live in the suburbs that they need something to stay in near the hospital when they're on call, or if there's looming bad weather coming in. I had a client who lived about 20 miles away from their children's swim center where they competed in swimming and diving, and it was in a metropolis type area. That drive, that 20-mile drive, potentially could take an hour or more depending on traffic, because the only way to get there was through major thoroughfares, and they could never be in a situation where they could not get to a meet on time, because that would completely ruin their chances for placing an event. There's another example. So it's just not true. It just has to make reasonable sense as to why you would be buying another piece of real estate relatively close to where you own real estate already. So I'm at the 12-minute mark, a little bit more time than what we usually like to take on these, but I was fired up when I saw the marketing piece, because education, dispelling bad information out there in this area when it comes to the products, what you can do, what you can't do, has been a huge part of our opportunity. As usual, always open to have a conversation about what you are looking to do, what your dreams and hopes and desires are, what you're looking to pursue to help build financial legacy for your family and future generations. So strhomefinancing.com. Great information on the website. There's a link to schedule a call with me, and always happy to jump on a call. Until next time.
Jeff Chisum is a registered mortgage loan officer with CMG Home Loans, NMLS ID 1820. CMG Home Loans is an equal housing lender. All programs, products, and terms discussed on this show are subject to change without notice.